Coming up tonight, good news for Bahamian children as 24,000 doses of the pediatric COVID-19 vaccines arriving in the capital today and are ready for dissemination. Plus, one activist says the company that spilled the oil in Exuma waters must pay up. And later on in our newscast, our Generation Next segment is grounded and rooted in Oklahoma's Bahamian soil. Figure out that one. This is our News Weekend edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. Children ages 5 through 11 will now have access to the Pfizer pediatric COVID-19 vaccine. Prime Minister Philip Davis receiving those vaccines today, along with other health officials. The nation's leader noting that he made several pleas on behalf of the country, and he is grateful to have those doses finally here.
I'm very elated and exhilarated by the fact that we have the vaccine present. Children get very ill from this infection, and the fact that they can be vaccinated now will prevent serious illness for them and perhaps fatality. And so I'm so elated that we have it.
Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darville expressing his gratitude to the Pan American Health Organization and the country of France for their donation. He says the doses will be distributed throughout the country.
The vaccines will be distributed throughout the Commonwealth. We would start the initial preparation and administration here in New Providence, and then into Grand Bahama, and then to our family islands. We're excited. Many families have been asking for it. We believe that it will play a pivotal role in the opening of our schools and the expansion of the kids coming into the next semester.
Emphasizing that the pediatric vaccines are voluntary, he says parents will be involved at every step in the process.
I want to make it very clear. We're not planning to go to school to do mass vaccination of children. This must be consented by the parent, and the parent will be directly involved in the administering of the vaccine, along with our pediatricians here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And it is Pfizer. Usually the Pfizer doses are double dose, and so we will be speaking with the vaccination committee.
Representative for the Bahamas from the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, Dr. Eldana Buson, is encouraging parents to vaccinate their children even if they have already had COVID-19. She says side effects are minimal.
The side effects from this pediatric dose are no different to what we've had from the adult doses. We have not seen much severe side effects at all, mostly mild, what your children may get when they have routine vaccine. A little fever, a little soreness on the arm, maybe a little tired one day, but we don't anticipate seeing severe illness or side effects from it.
Chief Pharmacist in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Gina Archer, gives the dates for the rollout.
And we're going to start rolling them out on Thursday of next week. It's going to, Nurse Bastia and her team will be responsible for getting them off to the family islands and to Grand Bahama. And that'll start Monday.
Following the disastrous oil spill taking place in the Exumas on Wednesday, environmentalist Joe Darville is weighing in. He says the company responsible should pay for this mistake. Bethany McDermott reports.
Following that unfortunate oil spill on the island of Exuma, Save the Bay's executive chairman Joe Darville says Sun Oil Limited should pay for the damage caused to the environment.
One cannot say that, we're going to blame the people, but the compensation should be made by the company bringing that oil here.
In a statement following the incident, Sun Oil Limited said the crew deployed absorbent pads and containment buoys near the shoreline at sunrise. Darville pointed to that devastating oil spill in Grand Bahama back in 2019, noting that it's still unknown the true damage.
When it comes to the situation in Equinor, with Equinor out in East Grand Bahama, we have yet to know what was the penalty imposed upon them for the destruction of hundreds of thousands of acres of our prime forests, wetlands, etc. And so we must be conscientious about everything that happens to every inch of our environment so that we could always have fishable water, swimmable water, drinkable water, etc. in this country.
On Friday, officials said up to 95% of the oil had been recovered. Darville also expressing concern over the mangrove ecosystem in that area.
There is such a plethora and abundance of mangroves, some of the most absolutely incredibly huge and voluptuous mangroves one can ever find in the Bahamas. And those are the things that we're talking about for the sequestration of carbon and where we're going to get carbon credits from. So anything that might negatively impact upon environment like that, we have to be extremely careful.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, says for the past 10 years, the BUT has been writing to education officials and advocating for changes. She says she's pleased to be a part of the National Commission to review the high school diploma.
I hope that the Commission do our work swiftly, although comprehensively, to ensure that the students that are graduating in the next cohort in 2023 are not negatively impacted, but that the changes and amendments that I foresee coming will be beneficial to our students throughout the Commonwealth.
She shares a few sore points teachers believe need to be reviewed.
There is a section in the diploma that speaks to parent-teacher conferences, and a child does not have the authority to say to their parent, you need to attend a conference. So I don't think a child should be negatively impacted because of something that is outside of their purview or their control or their authority. Students did not have the opportunity to do their job readiness or to do their community work. And so for the union, we thought that education should have waived that part of the criteria because it was beyond the students' control and we were in a pandemic.
Meantime, union leaders say the government is moving and making progress on addressing their outstanding issues. 4 union heads telling our Berthany McDermott that since the Davis administration took office, there have been promotions, payouts, and movements to finalize industrial agreements. But one of the leaders still has a concern.
The Bahamas Air Traffic Controllers Union expressing concern over a few issues. Topping the list is the construction of a control tower at the airport in Exuma. According to that union's president, Hinsey McKinsey, the government is proposing that an observation tower be constructed. However, he says the union will not train anyone if a control tower isn't constructed.
You can't just have somebody giving advisory service for more than 33 years. 33 years, which is only supposed to be a 6-month process, but it's take 33 years just to get a control tower. Now they're going to go back to the same observation tower. We would not do it. We would not train a single soul to go in there to work in an advisory tower. We want a control tower. We want proper infrastructure as a taxiway. Everything must be at that airport.
Back in May 2021, the then-Minister administration signed a multi-million-dollar contract for the redevelopment of the Exuma International Airport and broke ground on the new structure. The project includes the construction of a new 60,000 square foot air terminal building and runway upgrades. He says it seems government is receptive to the suggestion.
It seems to be appreciating what I've informed them of because I work in the tower for now 32 years. So I know what to expect.
In the run-up to the September 16th general election, the Progressive Liberal Party promoted itself to be labor-friendly and committed to addressing several long-standing concerns. Other union leaders we spoke to, like the president of the Union of Tertiary Educators of the Bahamas and the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, say they're pleased with progress on their issues.
Our concern was that the old industrial agreement, which expired last year, there were provisions in that industrial agreement that we were concerned about. Those are now being met. So we have received communication from the university to pay the bonuses as well as the small increase in salary.
So all is not perfect, but so far we are getting ahead in terms of resolving all major issues. Contract is secured.
Bahamas Utilities, Services and Allied Workers Union President Dwayne Wood sharing a similar sentiment. He says several outstanding issues are being addressed.
We were successful in pulling out the responsibility allowance so far, and those people will receive $4,000 onto their salary on the end of this month. And we were able to also get 167 persons promoted who weren't promoted anywhere from 10 years to 25 years with the corporation effective March 1st. We only have about 250 persons in the union, so that speaks volume and leaves a legacy.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Russia strikes a deal with Ukraine in the midst of a war. Ukrainian grain exports may finally restart. Construction of permanent homes for those who lost everything to Hurricane Dorian in Abaco. That's coming up when Our News returns. You're watching Our News Weekend Edition. Welcome back. Discussions between the government and petroleum dealers are ongoing, according to Press Secretary Clint Watson. Back in April, Prime Minister Philip Davis and Economic Affairs Minister Michael Halkitis were expected to meet with the Petroleum Retailers Association. At the time, operators said the rate set by oil suppliers and the government was affecting their operations and erodes small profit margins. Watson says the two sides are trying to find a happy medium.
The good news is it's not rising higher than we expected it to. It's trying to find the formula to keep consumers happy with not rising fuel costs, but also so that these operators can live. They have employees, they have businesses, they must survive.
The government is looking to construct new homes in the Spring City area, according to Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson. Watson says the new homes will allow for the closure of the Spring City Dome site. Temporary domes were constructed in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian back in 2019 to assist those displaced by Monster Storm Dorian.
A team will be included, which include the Ministry of Transport and Housing, the Ministry of Social Services, the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, and the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit began conducting assessments of the dome occupants in February this year to understand the needs of the occupants and to ensure a seamless and smooth transition. Coming out of these assessments and conversations, the need for safe, clean, and adequate housing was reinforced, particularly as we entered the 2022 hurricane season.
Although at war, Russia and Ukraine signed an agreement in Istanbul on Friday, freeing more than 20 million metric tons of grain stuck in blockaded Black Sea ports in Ukraine. This deal is aimed at bringing down soaring grain prices and alleviating a mounting global hunger crisis. The Biden administration and Ukrainian officials welcomed Friday's deal, which allows for the export of Ukrainian grain. However, the officials expressed skepticism that Russia would follow through on its commitments. John Kirby, a White House national security spokesman, said Russia's word is never good enough on its face and that it really comes down to the willingness to actually implement. In his nightly speech, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky offered more muted skepticism, saying that there might be some provocations on the part of Russia, but that Ukraine trusted the United Nations and Turkey, who are crucial partners in the grain agreement, and to ensure Russia's compliance. And just as Kirby suspected, Russian missiles struck infrastructure in Ukraine's port of Odessa early this morning, just 24 hours after the signing of the agreement, putting the world back at square one in terms of grain imports and inflated prices. When Our News comes back from the break, grounded and rooted in soil, one young Bahamian living abroad tells us why the earth is so important. Stay tuned for our Generation Next segment. And one cannabis expert tells us the good of ganja. We have the details when Our News Weekend Edition returns. This is our news. Welcome back. During the first 6 months of this new fiscal year, the Prime Minister indicated the government's commitment to bring cannabis legislation. Well, one cannabis advocate and consultant says education will be key to any legislation. Christina Dragovich has more.
Glenwood Ferguson is a cannabis consultant.
A person that goes and looks at the cultivation, checks it out, makes sure everybody's in compliance. I mean, down to advertisement, making sure that the hires or who are supposed to be hired are efficient in their work.
Attorney General Ryan Pinder has indicated government has engaged a Canadian firm to help develop the legal and regulatory framework for a cannabis industry in the Bahamas. Ferguson says there are also Bahamian experts both locally and abroad who can contribute.
People call me the doc, you know, it started from me just advising, helping with my business partner, and he's actually a cannabis activist in Oklahoma. He was locked up for cannabis also, and now he's a dispensary owner. Cannabis is really something that many people out here are not getting to, and you know, it's the thing that we don't want to get to it, and I think that's the problem right there.
During the pandemic, Ferguson put his research to work, writing a book he considers a basic guide for anyone who wants to learn more about the growing industry.
We got to get a move on it, and why not just educate the people so they know. There are caregivers, there are people who are in different industries, even in the hospital, that who could actually help many people right now. You could help your family member who you know have chemotherapy, who are going through battles, you know, pain, people who can't sleep at night, insomnia, all these different things that are tied to cannabis.
And with all the talk about the Bahamas making good use of its carbon credits, Ferguson says there's something people may not realize about the role of hemp in carbon markets.
Hemp is a carbon negative, and many people don't know that. You do your research. Hemp is a carbon negative. Let's build hemp homes.
Ferguson's book, Cannabis, The Plant, the Myths, the Truth, will be available on Amazon beginning in August. Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
26-year-old Bahamian native Valen Bodie now lives in Oklahoma and is the owner of Environmental Soil Solutions. He says his love and passion for soil started as a child, watching his grandmother garden and he himself playing outside in the yard, as most children did. He explains what it's like to make sustainable soil.
I put in the raw ingredients, obviously with various ratios that I figured out. So the base of the soil is peat moss, earthworm castings, compost, rice hulls, which is basically like the shuck of the rice after they take the rice out. And then pumice stone, which is just, you know, the stone that you get pedicures with? That's what it is, but it's broken up into little pebbles almost. So like the recipe is 100% renewable. So there's nothing that was... nothing that basically is not naturally occurring, basically. So the compost obviously is composted green waste.
Bodie says his goal is to export quality soil to the Bahamas or one day manufacture here locally.
Whether it be me manufacture my soil there or I start with importing it until I can have or generate revenue to then go ahead and manufacture there. My ultimate goal is to manufacture it there. Because there's so much there, you know, rich natural resources. There's great compost there that can be used in my recipe, you know, like seaweed, you know, I can process that to be able to use that as a nutrient value for the soil. So there's many things that I'm currently researching, if you will, like conch shells are another thing. I just have to process it the right way. And also those are things that I'm working as, that's where my science brain comes in.
As the country currently imports billions of dollars worth of food, Bodie says he also hopes to assist local farmers understand the importance of soil quality.
I'm trying to get in contact with the government to go ahead and put a program in place to teach farmers soil quality. There's very little farmers that know, they know what their forefathers or people before them has taught them. You know, like you till the land, you do this, that, and the next. But it's almost like shooting in the dark, if you will, because you don't know the nutrient value of that soil. So you're just hoping that when you put these crops there, that they do well.
Bodie also runs a commercial cannabis grow business. He says the highlight of his journey thus far has been able to help persons through the many medicinal benefits.
I know the value of the plant. And I think the big part of why it's so, if you want to say, condemned by society is because people just don't know the values of it, you know? So being able to grow cannabis legally, number one, and I don't consume it. So I literally just grow it. And just to be able to grow medicine, because really it's only legal medicinally here. You know, there's people with PTSD and pain, and there's just so many things and so many ways that cannabis helps people. So to be able to help people and grow clean organic medicine, and it's very similar to growing clean fruit and veggies. Like, that's a plan for me in the future.
His advice to other aspiring entrepreneurs is follow your passion and never stop learning.
Just learn something new every single day. They say you learn something new every day subconsciously, but make it a point that I'm going to learn something new every single day, whether it's an article about something random that you don't know anything about. Try to learn something new every day, because it can spark something in your mind that may take your passion, or you may find a passion that you never even knew you had.
And still to come, weather details are up next, so you can plan your weekend just right. And our Jean Joseph has the scoop on rake and scrape artist Delete. That's coming up when the weekend edition returns. Birdie told me some rain is expected this weekend, but let's check in with AccuWeather to get the details. He's got girls texting him hi and women calling him pie. He loves rake and scrape and junk canoe, and he represents the Bahamas wherever he goes. Join our Jean Joseph as he sits down with Stilly to talk life, music, and more in our arts and entertainment segment. Let's take a listen.
I am the party animal, Delete the party animal. You better believe it.
Many may know Delete for his hits such as Girls Texting Me High, We Raking and We Scraping, and Bahama Mama, but you may not realize he has been performing for the past 15 years. He vividly recalls the scenes that mesmerized him as a young man growing up in Inagua.
Musicians just playing guitar inside the house, jungle drums beating, fellas in the boys brigade practicing the outside the back of the yard with the horn. I just was always fascinated about music, and I started from there as a little boy, and now I am the party animal. I am the party animal, no doubt.
Delete's 2010 and 2017 releases, Bahamian Tempo, Volume 1 and ETP, feature many songs he is known for, but it has not always been smooth sailing for this island boy. Facing his mother's passing, a divorce, Hurricane Dorian, and many other personal issues have proven to be an obstacle to unleashing his full creative potential. But Delete says he's been making music and wants fans to know he has more in store.
I have the song, it's called Carry On By. It's time for us to jump up on, you know, and it's just pure vibes. Then I have another song, it's called Meltdown. Get ready for the meltdown.
He says he's been getting his personal life and career together and is eager to show and tell.
So they could look for a lot from me. I wouldn't even talk about my new stage presence, what I plan to do. Because I'm actually building my own band right now. You know what I mean? New woman, new band, new songs, new crew. new attitude.
The party animal says cooking is another love he enjoys sharing with the masses. His celebrity chef alter ego is a significant part of his cultural representation wherever he goes.
In my contract, in my rider, I have to have a booth. I give them both sides of the culture. You know, I give them food and music. 1 hour before my performance, I shut down and I perform and I, go back and give them food again.
Despite the ups and downs, Stellate remains true to his culture and carries the Bahamas on his shoulders wherever he performs. But he says there's much to be desired in the Bahamian entertainment industry compared to other territories. He expresses concerns about the lack of inclusion of artists from all islands in the independence celebrations and other national events. He calls into question some of the practices used when booking entertainers.
And if you just make a stand and say that you're not going to go for what they're going to be paying you and you demand more, you deserve more, it'll probably be a while before you get a show. They can take me off or whatever they want to take me off. They can't take me off the map because the music goes far. You know what I mean? By a click of a sound, you can be in Africa.
You can connect with Stellate on social media, but in the meantime, let's mash the roach to one of his hits, We Raking and We Scraping. I'm Gene Joseph for R News, Arts and Entertainment. Enjoy.
And we thank you so much for tuning into our news weekend edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Megan Shepard. Continue to have a safe and wonderful weekend.